all, my name is Jasmine Jones. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and you are now watching Black Girl Therapists in the Wild. This is a little series I like to call Therapist Sips and Reviews, and today we are reviewing Candyman. It's 1992 classic. That is the only time you'll be hearing me say this man's name. I will either be calling him He Who Shall Not Be Named or Old Dude. And I am drinking on Welch's grape juice and what is it? Mandarin vodka. Yes. Absolute Mandarin vodka. There you go. So yes, this is a whole classic. I saw a lot of you posting movies to watch. So yes, I will be picking from one of those. But I figured since it's Halloween or Halloween has passed, I might as well do some scary. Shoot. Why not? I sat through this movie again and I actually took in what it was about. Because when I was a kid watching this, I literally thought it was just this man that died and was around here killing black folks. But no, he doesn't kill. He kills one black person in this movie. The rest are just killed by some random gang member. Yes, and he came back. The only reason he came back was because this bitch was, making people not believe in him. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that. So, let's get into it. We got Helen. She is a grad student. Her and her friend Bernadette are partnering up on, I guess it's a dissertation, a project, something to do with folklore and mythical tales and all these other things. And they're talking to people in the local area about any mythical folklore tales they have heard and, what they know about it. So we start off with her talking to a student about Old Dude. And she's telling a story about how this babysitter and her boyfriend called his name in the bathroom and some shit. People that are calling his name are white. The only black person that actually said this man's name said it 4 times, not 5, and then walked the fuck away and said, fuck this shit. So when I say calling his name, white people. And I just want to note the amount of white privilege in this movie. Just the caucasity of this woman Helen here. But anyways, they're telling the story about the babysitter, her boyfriend. Babysitter is calling this nigga's name in the bathroom with her boyfriend. The boyfriend doesn't finish. He leaves, and then she turns the lights off and calls his name one more time. And she gets sliced and diced and all sorts of shit. His thing is about being known. He wants to be the mythical creature without having to be alive.
I am the writing on the wall, the whisper in the classroom. Without these things, I am nothing. So now I must shed innocent blood.
This is what this movie's about, and I am finally understanding it, and it's blowing my mind a little bit. I really thought it was just this black dude that got murdered by these white people, but for some reason goes around and chooses to kill black people. And I've been scared of him ever since. I don't know. But yes. So she hears about this, and her husband's a professor at the college, so he's probably cheating with one of these little young girls. She's like goes and meets him, and he's like giving a lecture on the myths and folklore tales and shit like that. And she goes and meets him, I guess, after his class, and he's standing there talking to these young girls, and they're all gathered around him like he's just Denzel Washington, 1993 glory. This man is not, though. And I'm just so confused how he's getting bitches. Like, do not as attractive professors get bitches like that? Like, they just oogling and ogling at him, and I don't know. Anyway, she's just looking like this nigga. And so she goes down there and asks why one of the little young things was blushing and looking away when she walked up. And he's like, oh, well, she probably just has a crush on me. And I can't help that she has a crush on me. And I'm just like, okay. Okay. So, she's just like mad because he's doing this whole lecture series on myths and folklore, and he was supposed to wait till she and her partner Bernadette is black. She's her black partner that's like doing the dissertation with her. And so Bernadette and her are doing it together, and she's low key mad at him because she's like, you were supposed to wait. Like, you were supposed to wait till I put my shit out there. And he's like, well, it's class and, lectures, and I can't wait on my syllabus and all sorts of stupid shit. So anyways, she's sitting in a classroom one night listening to the recordings of the people that she talked to, the girl that told her about the babysitter. And this janitor lady comes up and is like, oh, are you listening about old dude? And she's like, yeah, what do you know about old dude? And the janitor lady's like, well, my friend told me that he killed some girl up in Cabrini Green and shit. So Cabrini Green is the local projects. And they projects. I don't know what to tell you. They just projects. Places where people live, and they can be dangerous sometimes, but where isn't it dangerous? You go to the suburbs, you got some serial killer hacking up motherfuckers and burying them in their basement, so danger is everywhere. So, But she's fascinated by this shit. She's fascinated by the story and the hoopla and all the shit because it goes along with her project. She doesn't care about the girl that died or nothing about. She wants to find the story. I'm just like, you don't care about these. So anyway, she tells Bernadette, oh, look what I found out about Cabrini Green. And the girl that died there, her name was Ruthie Jean. And she was in the bathtub one night. And she heard this banging and knocking. And all of a sudden, we hear her screaming. And apparently he came through the medicine cabinet because apparently in those projects, the medicine cabinets are just connect you to the other apartment. You take them out, take the other one out, and you connect it. And so, he smashed through that shit. But she was banging for a minute. So she called the police like 3 or 4 times, and they didn't come because it's the projects. They're black. They don't care. And so she ended up stabbed to death. And then, eventually the police come. So, she's just like excited about this shit. I'm just looking at her like, okay. I mean, if it was just a story and she just kept it to searching for Candyman and the mythology and the story, that would be fine. I wouldn't even fuck about that shit. Like, search for the story. But no, she tells Bernadette, and then she found out that her apartments were supposed to be projects, but they changed it because there was nothing barring her apartment building from, the rich area and the white folks and stuff. So the highway bar. So if you go to any ghetto, most of the time there is going to be something blocking the entrance in and out of the ghetto from the nice parts of the town. So a highway, a train, some so that if anything happens, they can barricade the ghetto. Because that's what they did during the riots. And, they barricaded the ghetto to keep it out of, Beverly Hills and West LA and all the rich people homes. So they barricaded, what was it? The riots the Rodney King riots, not these ones. These ones we organized a little bit better, and they was over there fucking up Beverly Hills. Okay. So she finds out that her home is supposed to be project. She goes and she shows Bernadette, like, look here, girl, my medicine cabinet comes out just like at the projects. And the other person's and she bangs she pulls out her medicine cabinet. Then she bangs out the other side's medicine cabinet. And Bernadette's just standing there like, what if somebody's on the toilet? What if somebody lives? The audacity of this white woman to feel like she can go in places, touch things, look at stuff, climb through holes, take pictures of things without permission. No questions. No, the only thing she says is, I'm doing a research project. And I just feel so many types of ways about that. Like, so they eventually go to Cabrini Green, and she's walking around where Ruthie Jane died. Like, you're walking around where someone... This is not an abandoned building. This is the people's homes. This is the projects. Like, they're walking in, and they're dressed like cops. The gang members out front are like, what are you cops? Who are y'all? Cat calling, doing all the extra shit. But this is somebody's home. Like, imagine your apartment building, right? Like, a regular apartment building, not the projects. Just imagine a regular... Well, what would you do if you saw some random anybody sneaking into empty apartments, looking around, taking pictures without permission? This is not the day where the landlord leaves the door unlocked and schedules appointments with potential buyers and shit. No, this is just a random person. Like, say it's about to be nighttime, because it looked evening-ish when she was doing this shit, and it was just like, why do you feel you have the right to be going into these people's living spaces, sneaking into empty apartments and walking around taking pictures and shit like that with no permission, no decency? I'm just, researching. So anyways, they get up in there, and she goes to Ruthie Jean's apartment. She's taking pictures. Then she wants to climb through where the killer climbed through the bathroom situation, the medicine cabinet, to the other apartment that's also empty and decrepit and shit. All this shit is decrepit and old and shit, but this is not like an abandoned building though. Like, this is like, there's a few apartments here that are decrepit and old and all this other stuff, but there's still apartments where people live and do things and have a life, and it's like, you just strangers. Everybody in the building knows they're there. So anyways, she climbs through to the other side where the killer came in, is looking around, taking pictures. Candyman's big old face and mouth open is painted on the wall. There's a offering of wrapped candy packages on the floor filled with razor blades and shit, like this random shit. And she's taking pictures, and Bernadette's just looking at her like, I don't want to do this. Why are we here? Why are you climbing through shit? There could be people over there dealing drugs. You don't know what the fuck this is. And she's just like, no, everything's gonna be fine, bitch. As many times as she said everything's gonna be fine. So they come out, and here comes Anne Marie. She's one of the women. She's the woman that lives next door to Ruthie Jane's old apartment. Ruthie something. And she lives next door. She has a Rottweiler. I love Rottweilers. They're so cute. They have these little brown feet and these little brown dots on their eyebrows. And they're just the cutest little dogs. Next to Huskies. Huskies are the best though. They look like wolves without actually being a wolf. Anyway, she lives next door to her Rottweiler and her baby, and she's standing there at the door looking at them, climbing through shit, touching stuff, taking pictures. And she's like, what the fuck are y'all doing? So, shit, they tell her they're not cops, and they want to know about Ruthie Jane and all this other shit. So she takes them into her home. She invites these random strangers because they are doing a research project into her home. Shows them her baby, starts talking about Ruthie Jane, and the baby starts, you know what, I'm not even half and half on this. I'm just like 90% and 10%, okay? The baby starts crying, and this bitch Helen goes into Anne Marie's kitchen, grabs a rag, wets it, and then gives it to her because the baby's throwing up a little bit. And I'm just like, I would never have the audacity to just start grabbing shit in people's home and going into their other rooms that they didn't invite me into. I mean, I would at least ask, like, do you need help? Can I get you a rag? Where are they? So that I can help you, so you don't have to do it yourself. All the things that... that's what I would do. But she just goes into her kitchen, grabs a rag, wets it, gives it to her and shit. Like, I don't know. I just feel a type of way. Like, that's just so much familiarity in somebody's home that you don't know. Anyway, she tells her about Ruthie Jane. She tells her that she heard Ruthie Jane screaming, that she called the police, that the dude killed her, all the things. So they leave and they're at dinner with in some fancy restaurants. I guess they're trying to see the juxtaposition of the ruthless projects and this nice fancy restaurant that looks really smoky and old, because everybody in there is either smoking cigarettes or cigars, and it's gross and whatever. And she's at dinner with Bernadette and her husband and some guy that's another professor of theirs or whatever. And so she's talking about her research project, and the professor is all high and mighty and being an asshole. He's talking about how he wrote a paper on, he who must not be named and shit like that 10 years ago, and do they know the legend and the background of him? And she's like, what legend? And he's like, ha 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 ha. It's just stupid shit. So he tells her about he who must not be named, the legend, and basically he was the son of a slave, and the father made this machine that can mass produce shoes, and he got really rich. So he who must not be named was, raised in high society. He went to the best schools. He was a painter, all the things. So he was a son of a slave, but he wasn't a slave. And this landowner commissions him to paint a picture of his daughter. And of course, as things happen, he fucks the daughter, they fall in love, she gets pregnant, and then the landowner has some people kill him with bees. So they grab him, they chop his arm off, they cover him in honey, they have the bees swarm him, and he dies. And they set him on fire and spread his ashes where Cabrini Green is built. So Cabrini Green is built on top of Candyman. And I'm just like, well, how did Candyman 2 end up in New Orleans? One of them ended up in New Orleans. So they probably explained it in the movie, because all three of them motherfuckers was pretty decent movies, as far as I can remember. I haven't seen the second or the third one in a while. So you know what? I'm probably going to finish this up at some point. Anyways, she's like, ooh, and ah, and like, oh, that's what happened. And she's hearing the voices of the townspeople screaming in her ears and all sorts of stuff. And, this bitch goes back and takes more pictures by herself. She is just like, this is her house. Like, to have the confidence and the command of white people to feel like they can trample and walk anywhere without permission, unbothered. I'm surprised she just didn't walk up into somebody's home that was already living there and just start looking around touching shit like it's the zoo. Like, she can just do that shit. Like, that's how she was acting the first time she went there, taking pictures of the wall. There was like graffiti on there talking about sweets to the sweet and shit like that. So she was like, ooh, man, let me take a picture like she's a fucking tourist and shit. You know what? But I don't think I want the naivete of white folks to think that you can't get got, because no. That's not how the world works. So she's back there by herself taking pictures. She's looking for Anne-Marie to ask more questions. And we meet little Jake. So this little boy is there. And so she starts asking Jake about Candyman. I'm just like, okay, you asked him about Candyman. He said he don't know nothing. He ain't seen nothing. So leave him alone, because he's all of 7 or 8. And so then she like gaslights him. I noticed that she does this. She did it with her friend Bernadette when they were driving on the way there. Like, Bernadette didn't want to go. Bernadette was like, people die there. This stuff happens. This was the first time they went there. And she basically was like, well, maybe we shouldn't go, Bernadette, and we'll just write some stupid ass paper that nobody likes. And then Bernadette was like, fine. So with Jake, she like is low-key gaslighting him, talking about, oh, well, you don't have to tell me, but you could show me, and unless you're scared. And I'm just like, why are you recruiting a child? But there's this whole thing where white people don't see black kids as children, because it's like, why are you recruiting this child to walk with you around the projects and show you places where he thinks this nigga is? So it's just, I feel all types of ways. So he takes her to this public bathroom that is near the property of Cabrini Green. And he tells her about this little boy that was delayed. And he was with his mom at the store. He had to pee. She let him go across the street to the public restroom. He goes in there and all they hear is screaming. They go in there. Some guy goes in there and looks, and he's laying on the floor holding himself, and his little pee is in the toilet. So, I just feel like, that's okay. You told me that's what happened. I don't need to go in there and see. She goes in there and looks. She goes in there and looks and takes pictures, and there's sweets to the sweet on the wall, and she goes into the stall where they supposed to have found his little pee, and there's an arrow pointing towards the toilet, and I'm just like, this bitch is gonna lift this toilet seat. She lifted the toilet seat, and it was full of bees, and I'm just like, yeah. So anyways, random nigga comes up on Jake in a trench coat. It's not he who must not be named. No, it's just some random nigga that is taking his name. He goes into the bathroom with some more of his niggas, and they beat the shit out of her, talking about, I heard you was looking for he who must not be named and shit like that. And she was just like, I know I was just looking, but I'm about to leave. I don't want to bother you guys. And she tried to walk out, and they grabbed her. He had like a hook. He bopped her across the eye, and then somehow the police got involved. She called the police, and of course, as she should, she was assaulted. But I'm just like, how do we go from these niggas is beating your ass to you getting to the police? Like, why didn't they just kill you? But then she did say that people knew where she was. So anyways, they're doing a lineup. She gets him arrested. A detective says that he is the leader of the Vice Lords, or one of the gangs at the place, and that he probably killed Ruthie Jane and the little boy that was in the bathroom and stuff. So we're just gonna go off that and say that Candyman did not kill them black people. Because my thing is like, look, why Anne-Marie could hear the banging and the screaming and shit like that in Ruthie Jane's apartment. When Candyman kill people, they just end up passing out and waking up in blood and shit like that. All the things. So I don't know. I feel like Candyman didn't kill them black people. Be on his side, defend this thinking. Okay. Anyways. So she got this big old fucked up eye, but she's fine. She's gonna, go on, and she says some shit like, she goes back to the school and she's talking to Bernadette. Bernadette got the pictures printed and shit like that, and she says some shit to Bernadette like, there are 2 people murdered there, but it took me, a white woman, to get assaulted for them to do something. And I'm just like, this is why they have the audacity. This is why they had the audacity to do shit like that. Because people just come running when these motherfuckers is hurt. But let it be a black person. We're very cautious. Anybody of color, just very cautious, just in case, because you never know when you're gonna get got. But these white folks know. Like, if you touch me, you're gonna go to jail. You're gonna get beaten, you're probably gonna get murdered, whatever. You can't touch me. So I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can walk through this life, trespass on people's property, touch people's things, go in people's homes, take pictures, walk around like it's my house, and y'all ain't gonna do shit to me. See, that's that bullshit. So when she said that, I was just like, that's why she feels like she can just walk around and do shit and not get caught. Right. So she looking at the pictures in the parking lot that she took, because she thought the camera was smashed so the film couldn't be saved, but apparently Bernadette was able to save the film and make pictures. It's a picture she took while she was trespassing in people's living spaces. And she's walking in the parking lot to her car looking at these pictures when she all of a sudden hears Helen. And then she looks up, she's like, huh? Let me be walking anywhere and I hear a deep, echoey baritone, Jasmine, I would get the fuck in my car and drive the fuck off. Thank you. At some point earlier in this movie as well, she said that nigga's name 5 times in the mirror. So she called that nigga. So we're at this space where he's calling her name. She's looking around like, huh? Who is that? Bitch, doesn't that sound scary? Helen. Like, it's echoing. Like, who? I know you in a parking garage, but Helen. Huh? Who is it? Who? And then she looks over and sees this nigga standing and kind of in the sun in his trench coat, and she takes her shades off. So she's wearing shades to cover up the rest of her black eye bruise or whatever the fuck. And she's looking at him like, who is that? Who are you? And then he starts saying some poetic shit about how she belongs to him, and she made his followers not believe in him anymore, and that's why he came back, and he's gonna kill her, and it's gonna be exquisite, and they're gonna be together or some stupid shit. I don't know. But anyways, she's just looking at him, and then she tries to get in the car, but then he does this hypnotic thing that he does where she's just in a daze, and then she passes out. So she passes out, and she wakes up, and she's in Anne-Marie's bathroom, on the floor with a jacket covering her. And she's just looking around like, where am I? And then she takes the jacket off. She's covered in blood. She has like a knife, a hatchet. And she gets up. Never pick up the weapon. If you ain't seen it before, you don't know where it came from, you don't remember touching it, don't pick up the weapon. What the fuck is wrong? She picks up the hatchet, and then because she hears screaming off in the distance, I still wouldn't have picked that shit up because I'm covered in blood. I'm covered in blood, like she swam in it with her chest. Soaked all the way into her underwear, bitch. I'm not picking shit up. We're just gonna fight with these here fists or something, because I'm not about to be incriminated for shit, because if I get away with this shit, then this is how I think. I've seen shit. I've gone through shit. White people get off scot-free for shit. Like, look at that dude that raped that woman that was in college, and he got like 2 months or some stupid shit. Because he was, or that dude that got drunk and killed somebody, and they said he had influenza, so he could, or no, not influenza. It was something about him being rich, basically, and they called it the flu or some shit, and he couldn't go to jail because he was too rich and he wouldn't be able to. Fuck the people he killed. They're not people. He's people. They're not people. Okay. Anyway, she walks out the bathroom. There's the poor little animal. That poor little dog didn't do nothing to nobody. Was protecting Anne-Marie. The little Rottweiler's head is on the floor, just laying there and shit. You know? And so she walks into the room where Anne-Marie is screaming with the hatchet. I mean, I guess if she's scared and, you know, whatever. I wouldn't have touched that hatchet. Fuck that shit. You got me fucked up. Anne-Marie is in there screaming over the crib, and the baby's gone. So the baby's not dead, the baby's gone. And Helen is just looking at her like, what happened? What's going on? I mean, me personally, I probably would have looked at the blood on my chest, heard the screaming in the other room, saw that I had no injuries, saw that there was a hatchet on the floor laying next to me, and while she was in her room screaming, I would have just walked the fuck out. I would get the fuck out this bitch. I got the fuck up out that bitch. She went in there to see why she was screaming. I know, I'm horrible, but I'm just like, I question shit. I'm like, why don't I have any injuries? Why is this hatchet next to me? Like I did something. I'm not hatcheted. There's no hatcheted marks anywhere on me. And there's a dog's head over there. I don't remember what happened here. There's somebody screaming at. Let me get the fuck up out this bitch. Cause Anne-Marie didn't see her yet. She was in the rooms crying over the baby bassinet. She could have snuck but no. She went in there to see why Anne-Marie was screaming. And Anne-Marie attacked her as she should, because she shouldn't be in her motherfucking. And she saw the blood all over her and assumed that she killed her child. So Anne-Marie got up on that white bitch and started smashing her fucking head into the floor. And I was like, get that bitch, girl. I don't care if she did it or didn't. Fuck this bitch. She shouldn't have came here in the first place. Should have read some books, and wrote some shit and called it a day. You ain't gotta explore all and do all this extra shit. There's books, okay? There's newspapers. There might have been computers. No, there's books. No, because they had them big old giant ass computers that were like all blocky and shit, and then big old blocky laptops, but no barely any internet. So we're not even gonna go there. We're not even gonna touch. That's 1992. So, she takes the hatchet and smashes it into Anne-Marie's arm to get her to stop smashing her head on the floor. And then the cops come rushing in, to get her. And I'm just like, they wouldn't pick up the phone for Ruthie Jane or come quick enough for Ruthie Jane. Y'all keep saying the cops don't even be trying to come here. Every black person in this mother, Bernadette said it. Anne-Marie said it. Jake said it. The cops don't be coming over here like that. The janitor lady said it. And so, but they came for this woman and her baby though. Shit. They came quick, fast, and in a hurry for this woman and her baby. And I'm just like, I don't understand. I'm confused. But anyways, they see Helen holding that hatchet over Anne-Marie, and they pulled the guns out on her so quick, dragged her the fuck out of there, and then she had her clothes stripped off so she can put her prison clothes on, and she just sat there, and then she started crying. And I was just like, what else are they supposed to think, ma'am? You laying there covered in blood with a hatchet in your hand. What are they supposed to think? Like, she still feels like, I didn't do this, so they're supposed to just believe that. They're just supposed to believe that. And so they're trying to read her rights and all this other stuff, and she's trying to get a word in edgewise, talking about, can you just listen to me? Wait a minute, can you just listen to me? And I understand she's traumatized and she's been through shit and all sorts of other shit and all this other stuff, but it's like, you're covered in blood, you had a hatchet, no one else was there. You gotta stop and think for like 5 seconds, girl. Wait until your lawyer gets in the room, bitch. And she's just like trying to get a word in edgewise, trying to explain herself, and it's like anybody would do it, but I'm just like, what else are they supposed to think? And she even asked her husband if he thinks that she did it, and he goes, no, of course not. And she's like, not even a little bit? And he's like, no. He lies, of course. But anyways, she's in the jail. She calls her husband, and he doesn't pick up the phone. He's not home. She asked the officer what time it is. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. He's with his little young honeypot bitch. And so she's sitting in the jail cell, don't know what the fuck to do. And he comes in the morning. They have to walk outside, cover her head, because the news and the press is there. They're trying to figure out where this baby is. All this crazy shit. And so she goes home. Her husband trying to console her. She in the bathtub. He's talking about, I need to go pick up something from the school, because he's a professor, remember. I'll be back in 20 minutes. And she's like, I need you here now. And he's like, it's just gonna take 20 minutes, babe. And she's like, where were you last night? And he was like, I was so soundly asleep, I thought you were with Bernadette. And she was like, okay. So he leaves, and she's sitting in the tub scared and all sorts of stupid shit. So then she starts looking at the picture she took on the little projector or whatever, and she sees he who must not be named standing behind her. And so she freaks the fuck out. And I would have been like, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know what I would have done, but I wouldn't. This shit wouldn't happen to me because I'm not even saying his name in this fucking video. I said it one time. I don't play with that shit. The Bible says demons and ghosts and goblins and ghouls and all that shit is real. So I don't play with that shit. So he ends up in her apartment, chasing her around the apartment. She's like, oh my gosh. And then, she like tries to run out. He's in the hallway and shit. I would have ran to the other end of the hallway. Fuck that shit. I'm not about to be trapped in no space. And then, he starts talking about how she's the one and how they're gonna be legendary, their death is gonna be exquisite, and how he wants to be a legend, and how does it feel to be on people's mind without having to actually be, like some weird shit. Like, this nigga a narcissist. Like, what the fuck? You want to be a legend, you want to be legendary, and all sorts of stupid shit, but without actually living. And she was like coming in and ruining his shine for his believers. Like, he wants to be godlike. The narcissistic. Like, why can't you just be mad that the white people killed you and go after the white people? Like Freddy Krueger, didn't he kill all the motherfuckers that killed him? He was killing them in their dreams because they did some shit to him. He went after them motherfuckers in the first movie, okay? You just going after random motherfuckers. I mean, she wasn't random at the end or whatever. We find out she's like the reincarnation of the bitch he got pregnant or whatever the fuck. At least I think so, because he said something about, it was always you, Helen. So anyways, he has her like almost passed out in the kitchen, and he like takes his hook and slashes her ear up and fucks her shit up. Bernadette shows up. See, Bernadette is black, but Bernadette doesn't understand it. If after you knock 2 times and the bitch don't open the door, it's okay to leave. And if you hear something scary or screaming behind the door, just call the police. She's white. She'll be fine. Like, Bernadette doesn't understand that. So she keeps knocking, trying. And I know it's her friend and, worried about her friends. But let it be me. I'm not going in nobody's house. I'm not stumbling across no dead fucking body. If I hear screaming type sounds from the other side of the door, I'm calling the police. That's how bitches' friends be getting killed by their abusive boyfriends, because these friends want to barge in on shit like you about to protect this bitch. You better call the police. So Bernadette walks in and she's like, what's going on? And she turns around and sees he who must not be named. And, he sliced and dices her and shit, And then, Helen wakes up again on the floor covered in blood with a knife. And Bernadette is dead, in the living room. And then, she passes out or something happens. Or no, she doesn't wake up again. Her husband finds her on the floor covered in blood with a knife. And then she wakes up in her bed handcuffed. And the police are like shooting her up with some shit. I guess tranquilizer or whatever the fuck. And then she jumps out of bed, runs into the living room, sees Bernadette on the floor. And they made Bernadette look so pale in death. Like, black people get pale. Like, she was light skinned, but they made her look like she was completely white with black lips, and I think her eyelids were black. Like, it was just like, that's not exactly, I don't think we look exactly like that I don't think that's right. I don't know why I'm on that. Mm-hmm. So they pull her back and they take her to the mental health institution, the psychiatric ward. Got her tied to the bed and shit. And then this nigga comes talking about, he hovering over her talking about, give me a kiss, it would be so exquisite. And I was just like, I don't care if you date outside your race. But especially this nigga here, go for those white women. Because they're gonna be going for some white woman. Go for those. Do you. Do what you feel is right. I'm glad I hate black women. I don't care. I said what I said. Anyways, she just starts screaming and he goes away or some shit. I don't know. I think she passes out again. I don't fucking know. And then somehow she escapes from the hospital. The website with the video that I was watching it on, like, froze or some shit during the, like, 5 minutes of the movie. So, somehow she breaks out the hospital. She goes home. I didn't even go find another one. I said, fuck it, shit. So she goes home, and there's her nigga with his little honeypot, fucking and shit. And she's just like, oh, well, I guess I have no one. And then she starts walking the street and not saying his fucking name. And old dude starts talking in her ear, talking about, see, nobody loves you. They all abandoned you. You're by yourself now. Just a narcissist. Why can't you just be mad and have a grudge? I was watching this Korean drama. Was it The Mystic Pop-Up Bar? And this woman was on there, like, settling people's grudges. So, like, over there in East Asia, or at least Korea, and I know The Grudge, the movie, came from Japan, so I guess they have, like, the same kind of sentimentality. Grudges are, like, things that you regret, or things that are upsetting for, at least that's what I got from it and shit. Things that, are loose ends and regrets and shit like that. And so I feel like, why couldn't he just have a grudge? Why does this have to be about him, like, trying to be a god and gaslighting this bitch and being a whole narcissist? I mean, they said he was rich and shit, so maybe he was all about the money and not emotions. I mean, like, ain't you mad that these people made you into this? Like, you not mad, you just want to be a god? And and so she ends up going to him. He says, if you give me your life, I'll save the baby. So she goes to the projects again and meets him up in the upper room of one of them empty, decrepit projects. And he, like, says our death will be exquisite and da 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 blah blah blah. And she's like, fine, I'll die and da 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 blah. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna kiss you with a mouthful of bees. And she's just laying there like, oh, I feel raped. And funny. And then he's like, our death will be exquisite. He says it like a bunch of times. And then she passes out again, wakes up, walks around the empty room, sees that he wrote on the wall, it was always you, Helen, and then sees a mural, because there's murals of, like, how he died painted all over, like, the projects and shit. And so sees this mural, and the white woman that he got pregnant is in it, and I guess the white woman that he got pregnant is supposed to look like her or some shit. And then it was always you, Helen, repeated in her, Helen. She hears the baby crying, and she's like, where's the baby cry coming from? And she sees that the baby is crying and coming from, there's this pile of wood built up for a bonfire, and when she was going to the public restrooms to peruse and be a tourist, she asked Jake, what is this big pile of wood for? And he was like, oh, that's for the bonfire, for the party. And so she is hearing the baby's cries from the big pile of wood. And so she runs out and she crawls into the big pile of wood. And I guess he put that baby in there deep, like a needle in a haystack. She crawls through and through and finds the baby, gets the baby. And then Jake is looking out. I don't know where he's sleeping at. Is he homeless? That means that I didn't get the vibe that he was sleeping in, like, a room. It was like some kind of rickshaw space. But I mean, I could be wrong. So Jake is looking out his window. There's a window So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. And if y'all know, y'all sitting around watching Candyman for Halloween or some shit, let me know. Let me know if I'm wrong about any of this shit. I don't know. I'm drunk. And so he sees, like, so she has one of the hooks. So apparently up in the upper room of the projects, he has a bunch of hooks hanging off the wall or some shit. So she grabbed one. I don't know why she keeps picking up these weapons. Whatever. And so when she's crawling into the pile of wood, all he sees is the hook going into like one of the little holes. And Jake's like, oh, it's him. Got that nigga. Cause he been wanting to get Candyman. He didn't want to tell her about. See, I said it. That's the second time. God bless. Praise his holy name. I'm playing about this shit. Got me fucked up. So he's been wanting to get this nigga. He's been wanting to get this nigga for a long time. He's been like, he didn't want to tell her about this nigga because he felt that, you know, this nigga was gonna come and get him, and then she told him that this nigga wasn't real, and he believed her for a second, but then he saw that hook going into that pile of wood, and he was like, we about to get this nigga. So he calls everybody in the projects to come burn this pile of wood. And I guess everybody else in the project believe him too, because they come out with their sticks and ready and gasoline and shit. They about to burn this motherfucker. So she crawled through this pile of wood, pushing shit out the way. See, for me, I feel like I would have just told somebody the baby was in there. Like, you know, like, help. I mean, you good at this screaming and shit. What's wrong with me? And so she's crawling in there, and then this nigga come up behind her. Like, they set the pile of wood on fire. She sees the baby, grabs the baby. So she's crawling. So this is what happens. Okay? She's crawling in there. She sees the baby. It takes her forever to just move the shit out the way to get to the baby. She grabs the baby. They start lighting that shit on fire. Then this nigga come up behind her and puts his hand on her mouth and once again starts talking about how they death is gonna be glorious and all sorts of exaltation to death and murder and all that other bullshit. So she then grabs a burning stick and stabs this nigga in the chest. So apparently he can die, because when she went up to the upper room of the projects and she saw that hook, she stabbed him in the chest and it didn't do nothing. So I'm guessing maybe it was because it was one of his hooks. Who knows? You know, you got to be fashionable. You know, so you got the hook for Saturday. You got the hook for the weekday during the work. You got your party hook. So they set it on fire, and you know, she stabbed him in the chest with the fire stick, and he starts lighting up, and he's all like, come back here, come back here, come back to me. Yeah. I mean, so your whole being is because of this white woman. Like, your whole, like, coming back. No, he said he wants to be a god, too. So she came up in there and was trying to take away his godliness and shit. And so, does that mean if she never even went on this path? Because he making it seem like she's like a reincarnation or some shit. So if she never went on this path, you would have left her the fuck alone forever? Let me know. What y'all think? You think he would have left her the fuck alone forever if she hadn't went on this path of trying to trespass into people's homes to find out about some mythical creature or whatever the fuck? Cause you making it seem like she's reincarnated. You saying it was always her, but it's like you were fine with leaving her the fuck alone as long as everybody believed in you. So I don't know. Anyways, she grabs the baby and crawls out of the bonfire. She's all on fire and shit, you know, and all this other stuff. And then Anne-Marie sees her crawling and gets her baby and pulls her baby out of her arms and holds her and all this other shit. And then, you know, she's on fire and shit. They put the fire out from her, and Jake he sees that nigga burning up in the flames, and he's just looking like, got that nigga. I got that motherfucker. And then she dies, and we see her in her casket with her hair all burnt off and shit like that. Only person there is her husband with his little bitch. Why would you bring this little bitch to her funeral? See, this is why what happened to you happened to you. And that other professor that was an asshole. And then we see off in the distance a line of folks from the projects with Anne Marie and Jake in the front. And I guess this is just to pay respects because, you know, she seemingly got rid of that nigga. And, you know, they come and they drop. Jake drops that nigga's hook, his hook that was in his hand, you know, into the hole and whatever. And, you know, how did this get from there to New Orleans though? Like, he was supposed to have been spread around Cabrini and they killed him and all this. How did this get from... See, you know what? But they be saying like Marilyn Monroe be hunting multiple places and shit. So maybe it's like your spirit can go, you know, let me stop talking. Let me stop. It's not too far away from Halloween. So God bless. God bless. Yes, praise his holy name. So then we see her husband at home with his little honeypot. He's in the bathroom just looking distraught, like, oh, Helen is gone and I remember her, I miss her, I cheated on her. And so he's totally giving the little honeypot the cold shoulder, like, bitch, leave me alone, locked in the bathroom like a little punk. And she's trying to knock on the door, talking about, hey, I'm out here and you're gonna come out and making you dinner and show. And it's just like, well, the bitch is like, I mean, I would expect you to grieve over, you know, your recently deceased wife that I was cheating with you on. Like, I would expect grief. I would, you know, leave this nigga. So he's sitting on the toilet and he starts crying. Then he starts to say her name over and over again. And he gets up and turns the light off, and then he starts saying her name some more, like, you know, trying to call on her like a spirit. And she pops up behind him. I forgot what the fuck she said. And she has this nigga's hook in her hand, and she stabs the shit out this, fucks his whole life up. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not mad. I mean, like, you shouldn't kill nobody. You shouldn't kill nobody. Niggas shouldn't cheat, because you never know what's going to happen when you do falsehoods. When you do manipulative shit, when you lie, when you fuck around with those type of people, you don't know what's going to happen because you're starting to lay a groundwork of bad shit. And so that groundwork of bad shit, as long as you keep laying it, will only escalate into something much, much worse. And then eventually you're having to deal with this big pile of shit on top of this much, much worse thing that happened that made it all crumble to the ground. And it's like, you know, you cheat on somebody, you might get murdered. It's not right, but it's okay. I'm gonna make it anyway. So she kills this nigga, and then the little honeypot runs in the bathroom and sees him dead on the floor. I mean, she didn't kill her. She didn't kill his little girlfriend, you know, the little girl. And you know what? I'm not mad about that either, because you know what? You need to go after the nigga. He cheated, not the bitches. He chose to do this to you. The bitch is just extra. I don't care about that bitch. I'm looking at you. Oh, so you're over there talking to other bitches while I'm in, especially while I'm in the room. Oh, so I'm just categorizing shit as I see it. It's like, I don't say shit. I just notice, you know, I just notice and build up a file. And once the file is big enough, then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna leave. I'm not gonna say shit. I'm just gonna leave. You know, you don't need me. You don't need me. Okay? So I'm just gonna quietly pack up my shit. And I'm gonna get the fuck out this bitch. So you can keep talking to whoever you're talking to, doing whatever you want to do without me. And if you get the HIV, I feel sorry for you. God bless. Because I'm not getting that shit. I don't care how low your white blood cell count goes. You still don't want the shit. The fuck? The goal is to avoid it. The lowness of the white blood cell count is just to let you know that, if you already have it, you can still live a normal life and be whatever and shit. No, I don't want it though. I don't want it though. To have to get, no. I'm not, it's not right, but it's okay. I'm gonna make it anyway. Yes. So, she leaves that little girl alone because you know what? That little girl didn't do nothing. She was a pawn of this cheater's manipulations. And she ain't got nothing to do with this. Because that nigga made a choice. He made a choice. Ain't no bitch gonna talk nobody into fucking them if they don't want to. So that's all I see here. That's all I see. And then at the very end, when the credits are rolling, we see an effigy of Helen covered in fire, wearing all white, on the wall in the upper rooms of the projects. And it's the end of the movie. And I just feel bad that I had to grow up and realize that Candyman is just a whole narcissist. Makes you wonder, was he emotionally and physically abusing the woman that he was supposed to be painting? Was he like that even before he was murdered? Or did he become like that as he learned that people were saying his name and were being scared of him? Maybe he started off just murdering the motherfuckers that killed him and shit, and then he turned into, what Freddy versus Jason turned into, where they was just fighting for no fucking reason, just for the glory of it all. He stopped caring about killing the people that killed him, and he was like, I'm just gonna kill everybody just because I can. And it's that's why you don't start off killing folks. You don't, because you can turn into a whole ass, see, something little for revenge turns you into a serial killer. I'm not saying nobody's life is little, but one death is different than I killed 25 people. I'm just saying, so he's a whole narcissist, whole serial killer. He's just out here just wanting to be glorified and shit like a fucking god. It's just crazy. And, I'm hoping this bitch is just gonna go on and go wherever she's gonna go after she kills her husband who was cheating on her. And, I think I said that nigga's name earlier. See? That was the third time, y'all. I got 2 more chances. This video's almost over, bitch. Oh, shit. Or maybe was it 4? Oh, my God. Y'all don't know. I don't play. I saw this as a child. My mom let me watch a bunch of shit. All the movies and shit back there are all the well, not all of them, but most of the movies that my mom would buy me to watch together because she liked movies and shit. So I saw this one that came out 1992, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91. Oh, was that 5? Wait a minute, 87. Yeah, I was 5. I saw this shit when it came out, y'all. So guess I count on my hands because math is trash. Yes, children, math is trash. But it's useful for the people that enjoy it. So anyways, this movie was interesting to rewatch and see it from adult eyes and not glazed over child eyes that were just excited for the scary parts. I feel rejuvenated in understanding that there are a lot of mental health pieces in these fucking movies from the 90s that I just was not paying attention to. Candyman's a whole narcissist and he just wants to be praised as a god, at least in the first movie. I'm sure probably something about it is in the second and third movie too. He doesn't care, and he doesn't just kill indiscriminately. He just wants to be known. So I'm thinking if this bitch hadn't went looking for him and people just believed in him still, he probably would just be chilling wherever he was chilling, just happy to be known. But then this bitch went and came and made the people not believe in him and shit, and then he had to come down and be now I gotta make them believe in me again because you fucking up my shit. And so I think that's interesting to recognize. This bitch is just doing white people shit. I think I said that nigga's name again. You know what? Fuck it. I'm protected by the blood of the Lamb. am guarded by Jesus Christ. I said what I said, don't come for me. And if Jesus don't move your heart, well, that's okay for you. He moves mine. So if I'm scared, I'm going to pray to him. You're not going to come for me. Shit, I don't care what the fuck you believe. Believe in what you want. I'm calling on Jesus to protect me and guard a circle, because I think I said that nigga's name 5 fucking times. I'm going to get the fuck off of here. I hope all of y'all had a good evening. I hope you all had a good Halloween. Hope you all have a good week. I don't know, maybe I'll do something, Thanksgiving themed for Thanksgiving. I like doing black movies because it's like I can psychoanalyze this shit from a different point of view than when I was a kid, and really immerse myself in black culture and how we infuse our issues and trauma into our entertainment. Like the fact that Candyman is a whole narcissist. Yes. And it's enjoyable. And, niggas is going to cheat and do what the fuck they want to do. And it's up to you to get the fuck away from them and do what you want to do. And then, the right one will come along who won't do all that bullshit. That's the goal. That's the goal. That's the goal for right now. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, and later days.